Hi, this is my daughter Eliana. Someone just woke up from her nap a bit early. I'm Tiffany Dawn and welcome back to another episode of life advice that you do not hear in church. Today we're going to talk about God's will. Tell me if you've ever done something like this. When I was younger, I remember driving to community college and there were two roads that I could take to get there and they were both about the same distance. And every day as I was leaving, I'd be praying, God, which way should I take? And it would give me so much anxiety if I didn't sense one way or another which road to take, because I'd be thinking, what if I go the wrong way and get in an accident? What if I go the wrong way and there was someone I should have helped and I don't get to help them? Every little decision I would overthink and overanalyze and worry about if I was gonna miss out on God's will. Have you guys ever done this? It is exhausting. And I remember feeling like just crazy anxiety, and it can be paralyzing to live in that kind of fear of missing out. So I want to share with you today 3 things that I wish I could go back and tell myself about God's will, things that I just didn't learn growing up, and I think it's so important to keep in mind. The first thing is sometimes we just need to do something, and that's okay. So I was trying to decide whether or not to take this position at my church back, 10 years ago. And I was talking with the pastor of student ministries, and she said, the other day I was driving and there was a squirrel in the middle of the road, and the squirrel couldn't decide which way to run to the side of the road. And because of his indecision, I almost hit it with my car. She's like, sometimes indecision is the most dangerous place to be, when you're just paralyzed by indecision. And it reminded me of the parable of the talents in Matthew, I think it's Matthew 25, where Jesus is saying, there's these 3 guys and the master gives 10 talents, which is kind of money, say $10,000 to this one guy, 1,000 to the next guy, and 100 to the next guy. And the first 2 guys go and they invest the money that they were given. The master hasn't told them what to do with the money. They just are kind of left with it. So the first 2 go and invest it. And when the owner comes back, they're like, here's the money you gave me, plus I doubled it for you. Well, then the third guy with $100, he doesn't know what to do with it. He was never told. And he just goes and hides the money in the ground out of fear and does nothing with it. And when the owner comes back, he's like, you should have at least put it in the bank so it could make some interest. What were you doing? And I think sometimes I just relate to that third guy. It's easy to just bury the life God's given me, or the interests or passions or talents or whatever it is that he's given me, and just bury it out of fear of doing the wrong thing. But sometimes God doesn't tell us exactly what to do, or what college to go to, or what major to get. And we are meant to go do something with the life and resources he's given us, but he doesn't always spell it out for us. And so getting to make those decisions, make wise decisions, make ones that you're passionate about, I think a lot of times that's what we're supposed to do. And it won't always be this clear-cut, drive this way to school today. You just drive. The second thing is trust that the Lord will direct you. So there have been times in my life when God really put on my heart, this is the way I should go. It wasn't about how I drove to school, but it was things when I started traveling and speaking, it just really felt like, yes, I should be doing this. Or certain guys I was dating, I should not be with this guy long-term, right? So just a few different moments in my life that it was this is the way I should go. And in those moments, I didn't have to worry about missing it. God really did make it clear. In Proverbs 16, it says, a man may make his plans, but God will direct his steps. And I used to think that was to say, don't make plans. Oh, God's up there laughing at us for making our plans when he's going to direct our steps. No, I think it's more the wisdom of make your plans. Move ahead with your life and trust that God will direct your steps, that he will make it clear if he has a certain direction he wants you to take. And there's a lot of freedom in that, to not have to overanalyze everything, but just to say, God, I want to honor you. Please show me what your will is in this decision I'm making. And if you don't feel anything, don't get stuck there. You can move forward and make your plans and trust that if he has a different direction for you, he will show you and make that clear. And the third and final thing is God has already told us how to honor him. Jesus said that all the law and prophets are summed up in loving God and loving others. And I remember back in college, I was praying a lot about some different ministry things I wanted to do someday. And I really felt like God put in my heart, Tiffany, your calling is not to do any of those things. There will be times in life when I call you to do those things, but they're never your calling. Your calling is to love me and love others. And you can do that anywhere. In any job, in any school, with any major, you can love God and love others, and that is how we honor God. And I think that takes a lot of pressure off, because it becomes less about this mysterious figuring out God's will and not really sure what it is. And it becomes like, I know what God has called me to do. He's called me to love him and love others. And I can do that in all different jobs. I can do that in all different countries. I can do that in all different, seasons of life. I can always love God and love others. And that is the utmost thing he's called me to. So I hope that helps take some of the pressure off. If you've also been an anxious, fear of missing God's will person, let me know in the comments what has helped you. And I'm going to go help my other daughter now, who sounds like she needs some help in the other room. So I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye.